This is what we're about to embark upon over is something called the Tochacha. It's rebukes, and they make for very very disturbing reading. Things will happen if we don't listen to what HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells us to do. So, just before we get going, what's the idea? Everybody always gets upset. Moshe always gets upset when we get to the Tochacha, right? It bothers him. You'll see the verses after verses after verses of just terrible descriptions of what will happen. So why does the Torah tell us all of this stuff? Why do we need to know all this stuff?
You have to be aware of the consequences of
Oh, exactly, 100%. Which means like this: that the Torah is full of blessings as well. Like nobody ever wants to know why it is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us so many blessings, right? So in order to be able to make a choice of what we want to do, we have to be fully informed, right? So the same way that HaKadosh Baruch Hu lets us know what the blessings are, He's going to let us know what the curses are as well. And then it's as if HaKadosh Baruch Hu is saying, here, it's your choice. Right? You decide. You want to keep the mitzvahs, you'll get the blessings. If you don't want to keep the mitzvahs, you'll get the curses. But don't come to me afterwards and say that you didn't know. And that's why we have them over here. Now, what we have to be thankful for is that they're all bunched together and they're not spread out all over the place, right? The brachas are spread out all over the Torah, which means that we can open up the Torah and we can get tremendous feelings of goodness, right? That we're doing what we're supposed to do, and the bracha is there, and we're going to be recipients of it, and it's wonderful. Everywhere you go, you're going to see it. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu does us a little chesed over here, and He puts all of them in the same place, that we should get them out the way in one go, just so we need to know, right? So just need to know once. Looking very quizzical. No, not at all. And I say you are. I can see you. You can't see you. What will happen in shul on Shabbos morning is that when they get to read the brachas over, when they get to read the klalas over here, when they get to read the curses, so the Baal Korah is going to read very quickly and very quietly. Again, we've spoken about this. Huh? In Amalek, it's the other way around. He'll read very slowly and very carefully because it's very important to hear every single word. Right? Over here, though, it's done, again, we've spoken about this in the past, right? I personally, I don't understand this, I really don't. The Tochacha, the rebuke, is as much a part of the Torah as anything else. And the idea of reading it quickly and quietly, as if you do it like that, then it will have less of an impact. I don't know, it strikes me as, first of all, it strikes me as being a little bit self-defeating, actually.
God wants you.
We would imagine that HaKadosh Baruch Hu would like us to listen very carefully to what's going on over here. But anyway, that's the accepted.
Is that the fear of the people, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, it all revolves around the idea of not, we're somewhat superstitious about these things, and if we give too much credence to them, then maybe that's what's going to happen. It's going to happen anyway if we don't do what we're supposed to do, and it's happened over and over again inside of Jewish history. So, why anyone feels that this is the way to do it, I don't know. The Chafetz Chaim was unhappy about the custom to read the rebuke like this. But the emes is that it's accepted. I would be very surprised.
He wanted the Yeleni to be.
He said you should read it regularly, right? He said it's as much a part of the Chumash as everything else is, and whatever. I'd be very surprised if you come on Sunday morning, if you say that the place that you read it in, they read it slowly and loudly. I'd be very surprised to hear that, because most places are going to go through it quickly as they can. I mean, the good news is it's quite long, so, if they're reading it quickly, then at least you come out of this with some kind of a positive dimension, but whatever, okay. So down at the bottom of page 1076, it says like this, Vaya'im lo tishma b'kol Hashem Elokecho, and if you don't listen to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right, because the beginning is to do with the blessings, God's going to bless us, right? And then it says, and if you don't listen to what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants you to do, lishmo la'asos es kol mitzvosav v'chukosav asher anochi mitzavecha hayom, Uvo alecha kol haklolois ha'ela v'sigucha. Right, that you're going to be overwhelmed with these curses that are going to come your way. So it says, Aror ata, top of page 1078, right? Aror ata ba'ir, va'or ata b'sadeh. Wherever you go, you're going to be cursed, which means it doesn't matter. You can't run away from this. It's not something that you're going to be able to work out a system. I remember reading a fascinating thing. There was years and years ago, there was a Meshuggah American millionaire who was concerned the whole time that there was going to be some kind of a nuclear war between America and Russia. And he hired scientists to work out, if there was a nuclear war, where would be the safest place for nuclear fallout, where would be the safest place to be in the world. So they found him a little island in the ocean, right? I think it's in the Atlantic Ocean. They found him a little island, and he moved over there. He was so scared of this. I don't know, some sugar American millionaire, and he moved over there. And a few weeks later, Argentina invaded the Falkland Islands, which is where he'd moved to, and then a war was sparked off, and the British came. It's like, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen, right? You'll be, wherever you are, wherever we are, we're going to be cursed. That's what HaKadosh Baruch Hu is saying. And then HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, Aro tancha uvishartecho, right? That everything you've got, your fruits and your kneading bowl, it's saying like nothing is going to remain untouched by what's going to be unleashed over here. Arur pri vitnecho, pri atmosecho, that the fruit of the womb and the fruit of the land are going to be cursed. Everything, it doesn't matter, your flocks, your cattle, everything is going to go. You're going to be cursed when you come in, and you'll be cursed when you go out. Yishalach Hashem b'cha. Wherever you go, whatever you're doing, whether you go somewhere and you realize that it's not good to be there, so you decide you're going to leave there, it's not going to help you. Right? Wherever you go, whatever direction you're going in, you're going to end up being overtaken by the curses. Yishalach Hashem b'cha es ha'me'ero, es ha'mehuma, v'es ha'migeres, v'chol mishlach yodcha, asher ta'aseh, ad hishametcha v'ad avodcha meha mipnei roa malelecha asher azavtani. It's all going to happen. It's going to happen quickly. The sages explain it's going to happen in groups. There's going to be waves of curses that are going to take place over here. It's going to be something absolutely terrible. Yadbeik Hashem b'chayis adove ad kaloiso yisacho mial adam asher ata bar sham l'rishto yakho Hashem b'shachefes v'kadachas v'dalekes v'charchu v'cheru v'shidofon v'yirakoi. Which means that we're going to be pursued. We're going to be pursued by plague, and we're going to be pursued by disease, and we're going to be pursued by the sword. Right? The whole thing is going to be absolutely terrible. And the sky above you will be like copper, and the land will be like iron. Now, interestingly enough, there's another series of rebukes that come earlier on inside of the Chumash, right? And that's a rebuke that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us. Over here, this is a rebuke that Moshe is giving. It's as if he's going back over a little bit of what HaKadosh Baruch Hu's given us. Over there, the first time around, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu was on us rebuking, it says the opposite of what it says here. Over here, it says that your skies will be like copper, and the land will be like basil, like iron. In the first rebuke, it says that the sky will be like iron and the land will be like copper. So the Mefarshim, the commentaries, point out something really quite fascinating. That what the first one is worse than the second one. The second one over here is saying what? That the sky will be like copper and the land will be like iron. Copper has a little bit of moisture to it. Iron, of course, has no moisture. So the idea is it's slightly less worse than the original one. The original one that was given, it says that the sky will be like iron, which means it will be as dry as can be. There'll be no moisture. The land will be like copper, would have a little bit of moisture in it. And what will happen? That because there's moisture there, that in the land, it will cause anything that's able to grow to begin to rot. Whereas over here, it's the other way around. Moshe Rabbeinu flips it around and he says that the sky will be like copper, which means that hopefully there'll be maybe a little bit of moisture in there somewhere. And the land itself will be like iron, which means that if something does manage to grow, it won't be destroyed from the unhealthy moisture inside of the ground. And it says, Yitein Hashem es matar tzecha avak va'afam min hashamayim yored alecha ad yishamdoch, that everything is going to go wrong. It's going to be something terrible. Yitein cha Hashem nigaf lifnei oivecha b'derech echad teitzei elav uv'shiva drachim tanus lefanav. That what will happen? You'll go out to try and escape from your enemies, right? And they'll be all over the place. And you'll be terrified. I want to go down a little bit further. Here, verse number 30, for example. Isha te'ares ve'isha acher yishkavena. Right? That you'll get engaged and somebody else will sleep with this. What's it say? You won't be around.
How is that wishing that? How can you wish that one?
Here, hold on a second. We'll come to it. Hold on. Right? Bayit tivne v'lo teshev bo. You'll build a house and you won't be able to live there. Kerem tita v'lo tchalaleno. And you're going to give you're going to build what's it called? You're going to plant a vineyard, right? And you won't be able to use it. Shorcho tavuach leinecha v'lo toicha mimeno. Chamocha gozul milfanecha v'lo yeshuv loch. Tzoincha nesunos toivecha ve'en lecha moshiach. Everything's going to be taken away from you.
If you're saying all of this, what's the point of teshuva?
Oh, so what's the pshat here? It's an important point, right? What's the pshat? It's not saying that this has to happen, right? The beginning was very clear. Vaya'im lo tishma b'kol Hashem Elokecha. If you don't listen to what I'm telling you to do,
so if the guy doesn't listen and he then sits down and does teshuva, is he still going to have a
no? It's going to come to an end immediately. It's dependent. It's completely dependent on us. Completely.
I see it, but I don't agree with it. Because what happens if you don't see what you've done wrong?
Good question. What about if you don't see that you've done something wrong? So what are we talking about? We're talking about somebody who doesn't know anything about Yiddishkeit.
Let's say he's just new into the religion.
Okay, so I think if that's the case, I don't think that's what this is talking about.
Oh, fine. You're saying that
You're talking about this. First of all, it's not talking about individuals over here. It's talking about the Jewish nation, right? And I think what it's saying is that the people they know what they're supposed to be doing, and they don't do it. You've got a community, right? I don't think it's talking about somebody who is new to Yiddishkeit or somebody who isn't even aware, right? Hasn't started his journey towards Yiddishkeit yet. But what it is saying, which is that's our glimmer of hope for sure, is that once all of this has been started, it can be stopped at any moment. That's dependent upon us, right?
If I had to do teshuva and the person opposite me doesn't, the person next to me doesn't do teshuva, I'm asking for it to stop. It will still continue because he's not asking.
It's very possible that it will still continue because it could be that the power of your prayer, the weight of your prayer, won't be enough to tip the balance. If you've got enough people praying, if you've got enough people doing teshuva, then maybe that will.
That completely ruins the idea of a personal relationship with God then.
Yes, in a certain way. Here, let me explain. Which means like this: that you've got a personal relationship with God. Everyone has a personal relationship with God, right? However, God makes very clear that the Jewish nation is a unit. Right? Like it says that when we received the Torah at Har Sinai, we were ki'ish echad b'levecha. We're like one person, and that means that when the majority of the Jewish people are not doing what they're supposed to do, then that's not good for everybody. And it says quite clearly that when HaKadosh Baruch Hu's anger is unleashed against the Jewish people, it will be unleashed against everybody. It doesn't make any difference, right? The tzaddikim and the rashoim and everybody else in between as well. Which means like this: we have to know here. We're coming up to Rosh Hashanah, right? Why the tzaddikim? So the answer is very simple, because the tzaddikim are guarantors for the Rishoim inside of the Jewish people. We all are attached to each other.
We should be more aware.
Yeah. You know what it's like? It's like when you go mountain climbing and everybody's attached by a rope.
One person falls.
One person falls and everybody's going to start. Everyone's in danger now, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's in danger. Is that fair? No, it's not fair, but that's the only way that you can get up this mountain. Like we, the Jewish people, we are all attached to each other. When somebody does something which is wrong, everybody's affected. When somebody does something which is right, everybody's affected as well. It's great, right? It's very, very important to understand this. It really is. Which means like this, that the minute God's anger is unleashed, it's going to be unleashed against everybody, not just against the people who aren't doing what they're supposed to do.
I agree with you, but I don't. So then when Moshe hit the rock, why didn't everybody suffer?
They did. Moshe didn't go into the land of Israel with them.
No, but he suffered then. They still went into it.
No, but you don't understand. Moshe going into the land of Israel would have had the most incredible repercussions over there. Spiritual repercussions. Nothing would have been the same as it was. Which means that even though Moshe Rabbeinu he's being punished for his action as the leader of the Jewish people, but the whole of the Jewish people are going to feel the reverberations, bless you. Everyone's going to feel the repercussions of what Moshe Rabbeinu did. Everybody. The good news is like this, with all of these things over here, the good news is like this. It is completely possible that the prayers of one person can bring this all to an end. Because if things are in a balance, right, things are in a very fine balance over here, and the prayer of each person is going to tip that balance, it could be that the prayer of that one person is enough to tip the balance over here and to bring all of this to an end, which means that you've got to, we have to work very hard to build up our relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that it should be strong, right, strong enough to be able to weather the more difficult times as well. There is, you should know. Here we're coming up to Rosh Hashanah, right? It says over there by Rosh Hashanah. Yeah, well, I mean, we are. I don't know what you're doing, right? But it says by Rosh Hashanah that HaKadosh Baruch Hu judges each person on Rosh Hashanah, and he judges also the entire Jewish community. B'skira achas, which means that we are looked upon as being individuals, and we're looked upon as being a part of the whole as well. Here we've spoken about lots and lots of times this idea of belonging to a team, right? When you belong to a team, you've got your own individual responsibility inside of that team. You've got to do what you need to do. That's what your position is, right? But you've also got to interact with everybody else as well. What's interesting about these things, these verses, right? They mirror the verses that we learned last week, where it says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu says that, that if you do this mitzvah, you'll get another mitzvah, right? Remember all of that? It says that the Kohen HaMashiach, before they go out to war, right? What does it say? Anybody who's got engaged to a woman, right, shouldn't go into battle in case somebody else is going to end up marrying her. Anybody who's built a house, right, they haven't put up a market, they haven't put up a thing, they shouldn't go out to war. Anybody who's planted a vineyard, they shouldn't go out to war. What's interesting over here, these verses over here are mirroring those verses just the other way around, right?
That's why it's called a blessing and curse.
For sure, right? Which means that you're going off into war, you would have thought everybody has to go into war, right? But interestingly enough, the Torah says, no, we're going to take into account some people shouldn't go out. They shouldn't go to war. They should stay at home. And now along comes the Torah and says, but if you don't do what you're supposed to do, a person will get engaged and somebody else will marry their wife, and then a person will build a house and he'll never get to live in it, and a person will plant his vineyard and he'll never get to be able to get any benefit from it. The opposites of all of these things, right?
The only story where this has actually ever happened in reality.
Yeah, for sure. The destruction of both temples. It's interesting that the sages say that what appears in the first rebuke happened during the first temple, and what the destruction of the first temple, and what happened in the second, what appears in the second rebuke happened in the second temple, the destruction of the second temple. I'll tell you more than that, though, right? If you take a look at what happened in Jewish history, there are very, very terrible moments in Jewish history. So, for example, the Spanish Inquisition, the Chelmniki massacres, the pogroms, right, the Holocaust. All of these things are happening within what was happening during those moments, which means that it may not appear in an orderly fashion, but if you look around and you read eyewitness accounts of what happened in the Holocaust, you'll see that all of the things that are being described over here are things which people experienced. It's difficult to get away from it. It really is. I'll tell you something else, and I try to shy away from talking about the Holocaust because I think the Holocaust is something which cannot be explained right now. But I do honestly believe that when people come along and they say, how could God have done what he did in the Holocaust? I think the answer really is, how could he not have done it?
Humanity did it.
Humanity, that's for sure. Where was God? The real question is, where was man?
Yeah.
That's for sure. But I'm saying from a theological viewpoint, when people come and say, how could God have allowed the Holocaust to happen? I don't know. God, here, twice in the Torah, he spells out in black and white, in gruesome detail, what happens if we don't keep the mitzvahs, what's going to be. And here, I mean, how, in a certain sense, maybe the question needs to be, how could God not have done what happened over there? Because the state of the Jewish people was very, very precarious. I don't know. Here, verse number 32. Banecho v'noisechen esurim la'am acher. That your children, they're going to be given over to a different nation. Ve'einecha ro'ois v'chalois eleim. And you won't be able to do anything about it. Kol hayom ve'ein lekel yodecha. Pri ad mosacha v'chol yigiacha yoichal. Am asher lo yodata. You'll plant and you'll invest a huge amount of effort and time and money into trying to produce food over here, and somebody else will eat it. Rak ashuk v'ratzutz kol hayamim. And everything, all day long, you're going to be battered from side to side all day long. V'hayisa mishuga mimar'ei einecha asher tirei. And you'll go mad from what you see. Again, just go back 70 years. Right? People saw things, it made them go insane when they saw what they saw. Yakho Hashem b'shchin ra ala birkayim v'ala shokayim asher lo yitzuk le'erafei mikaf raglacha v'yad kat kodecho. There'll be physical ailments. People will be sick. They'll be ill. Yelach Hashem oitzcha v'yes malkecho asher tokim alecho el goy asher lo yadata ata v'avoisecho v'avata sham Elohim achirim eitz v'oven. We're going to be taken off. We're going to end up in idol worship. V'yisel Hashem ala Moshe l'shnino b'chol ha'amim asher yenegecho Hashem shomo zera rav toitzi asodeh u'ma'at teisoif ki yachselenu ha'arbe. The ground will produce, but you won't get to see any of it. It'll be destroyed by locusts, by all kinds of natural phenomena. Kromim tita v'avadata v'yain lo yitishte v'lo yisegor ki soichlenu atoilos. You'll plant these vineyards, and there'll be the most incredible abundance of grapes that are going to be produced, and you won't get to use any of it because it'll be destroyed by the bugs. Zei simyu lecha b'chol gvulecha v'shem lo yisasuch ki yishal zeisecho. Right, what will happen? That there'll be olives everywhere, and there'll be olive oil, but not yet. There'll be olives, but there won't be any olive oil because the olives will just drop off of the trees. You'll have children, and you won't be able to get any kind of joy from them because they'll be led off into captivity. Ager asher b'kirbecha. Yale alecha mala mala v'ata tered mata mata. It's whoever's there, they're gonna have the ascendancy. You're gonna end up just sinking lower and lower. Hu yalvecha v'ata lo yiselvenu. He'll lend to you. You won't be able to lend to him. Hu yel roish v'ata tiel zanav. He'll be at the head. You'll be at the tail. Uvo alecha kol haklolo yisraela udafucha v'sigucha adi sham doch. And all of this happening, why? You didn't listen to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right? We can stop all of this. None of this has to happen to begin with. If we just do what it is that we're supposed to do. And now listen to this, because this verse number 47 is one of the most important verses in the whole of the Chumash. Why is all of this happening? Tachas asher lo yavadata es Hashem Elokecha b'simcha v'tuv levov miroiv kol. We didn't serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'simcha v'tuv levav. We didn't serve him with joy. According to some of the Mefarshim, you hear what's going on over here. They kept the mitzvahs, they were doing it, they were going through the motions. But what happened? They didn't feel a connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, they didn't feel themselves connected in a way that brought them some kind of simcha, some kind of joy, that they should feel good about what they're doing. The Pasuk David HaMelech says, Ivdu es Hashem b'simcha, you should serve God with joy. So Rav Schwab used to say like this, very beautiful idea. If duas Hashem b'simcha, he played around with the words a little bit. He says, even when it's an avoida, you have to be b'simcha. Even when it's hard, you have to be b'simcha. You hear what he's saying? You get out of bed the wrong morning. Like one of the Hasidic rabbis once said, a person gets up in the morning and he's going to be angry. He just hasn't worked out who he's going to be angry at yet. You have those days, you get up, you feel like that, yeah? Get out of bed the wrong side. If your bed's against the wall and you do a stupid thing, right? Get out of bed the wrong side. What's the idea? If do as Hashem b'simcha, even when it's an avoida, we have to be b'simcha. We have to work on ourselves to feel that connection with our Kodesh Baruch Hu. And if we don't, what are we doing? We're just going through the motions. And the core, the core of what we're supposed to be doing is not there. You hear? Rav Schwab used to explain like this. You got a great big tub of hot water sitting on the fire. So if you want it to bubble, you have to turn up the fire. If you want it to be cooler but warm, if you want it to be warm, you have to turn down the fire. He says, but the fire always needs to be on because that's the only way that you can retain the temperature. If you switch off the fire, then you've lost and you've got to start all over again. It says Rav Schwab, if du es Hashem b'simcha, that's exactly what he's telling us. That what? That you've always got to have a dimension of simcha inside of you. You've always got to feel that sense of being happy with what's going on. It's true, sometimes you'll be in high flame mode, sometimes you'll be in low flame mode. It doesn't matter though. But if the flame goes out, then that's terrible because it's got to start all over again. Huh? Verse number 47. That you didn't serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu, b'simcha u'v'tuv leivav. You got to feel good about it. Why? Says the end of the pasuk, miroiv kol, because you had too much good. You hear? It's the most incredible thing. It really is.
What do you mean because you had too much good?
Too much. Life was just too good.
Life was just too good and you didn't feel reasons to praise him.
Oh, you hear? Pshat, it's the most incredible thing. You should know that. Human nature. When things aren't so easy, we turn to God, right? But when things become easy and life is good, we tend to lose sight of God. It's the most astonishing thing, it really is. And that's who we are, that's human nature. I want to tell you, I grew up in a very well-to-do neighborhood in London. I always tell everybody, my parents moved in before it became a well-to-do neighborhood. But I grew up in a very well-to-do neighborhood. Some of the people that davened over there in my parents' shul were humongously wealthy people. And each one was more miserable than the next one. They were a miserable bunch of old so-and-sos. They really were. It's unbelievable. You would have thought, right, that the more you've got, so the happier you're going to be. Isn't that well? It's poured into us, right? That if you've got money, then you'll be happy. And the more money you've got, the happier you're going to be. And it doesn't work like that. It just doesn't.
It's like the people winning the lottery. Look at the percentage.
Oh, unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Also,
It's not only that. It's like when something goes right, a lot of the time when something goes right in your life, you can pray for everything to happen, and then it happens, and like that, you stop praying.
Yeah.
Because what's happened has happened, and therefore
There you
everything's
go.
good.
I've got what I need,
Yeah.
right? And by not praying,
You actually get
it
it taken away from
doesn't take very long for you to forget that you need to pray.
Yeah.
Do you know, it's interesting, you hear by businessmen, very, very often you hear this refrain, right? When they go through a great business deal, they're like, I did it. It was me, my business acumen, It's like, why, if it doesn't work out, it's why did God do that to me? It's fascinating, it really is. The most fascinating insight into human nature. When I do things right, it's me. When I do things wrong, it's God.
definitely.
That's who we are, no? I once spoke with a very, very wealthy property businessman in London. He measures his wealth in hundreds of millions of pounds. And he told me the most beautiful thing he really did. He told me, he said, I'll tell you the truth. He says, I'm really not a very good businessman. I'm really not. He says, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu keeps putting me in the right place at the right time. Mm. And I think that's very beautiful. I really do.
You appreciate it.
He sees it, right? And he feels it, and he lives it. Not like the others who are like, it's me, it's me, it's me, it's me, it's me. So it's a most incredible paradox. We have too much of something, and then pow, that's no good anymore. It's taking us away from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So Rav Dessler, one of the greatest thinkers in the last generation, Rav Dessler used to give a bracha to his closest students under the chuppah as they were getting married, that they should never have the nisayon, they should never have the test of being wealthy. Right? He's not giving a bracha they should be poor. Right? The difference between being poor and being wealthy is enormous. There's a great big block in the middle, right? But what he's telling them is that if you're wealthy, what's it going to do? It's going to distract you from your avodas Hashem. It's going to distract you from what you need to be doing, and that's no good. So he gave them the bracha that they shouldn't have that.
You shouldn't have what exactly?
Too much wealth. They shouldn't have the test of being too wealthy. V'ovarate zoivecha asher yishalchenu Hashem boch v'ra'ov v'tzom v'eroim v'choyser kol v'nosan ol bazal tzvarecha adi shimdo yisoch. Everything is going to be something terrible. It's going to be something awful. Now, I think I mentioned once, but I'm going to tell it again because it always sticks in my mind. I remember reading an interview, I think maybe it was in Time or Newsweek, I can't remember, years and years ago. Not a Jewish guy, but a very wealthy fellow who lost his money. And they interviewed him. And I remember I don't remember very much about the interview, but I remember one of the questions that the interviewer asked him was what bothers you the most? Now that you've lost your money, what bothers you the most? Obviously expecting to hear that he doesn't have the life of luxury anymore, and it's very difficult to, it's just, life is very difficult. You know what he said, the most incredible thing? He said, you know what? He says, nobody comes and asks my advice anymore. That was the most difficult thing. He said, just because I lost my money, he says, I'm no less smart than I was. Which means if you thought I was smart enough to give you eitzes, to give you advice when I had money, then if I lost my money, you should still be coming to get advice from me. Maybe, maybe not investment advice, but other things as well. He says, but that's it, nobody comes to ask advice anymore. It's an interesting insight, no? Yiso Hashem elecha goy mirachoik, v'tzeh ha'oretz kasher yideh anoshe. Listen to this. I don't know what this means. Maybe we can work it out between us. That Hashem will carry us away to a nation far away, like an eagle that will swoop down. Goy asher loy tishma l'shoinoi. A nation whose language you won't understand. Goy az ponim, a brazen nation. Asher lo yisa ponim lezokein v'na lo yichoin. That they won't have any respect for the elders, and they won't be gracious to the young. You hear? Where would that be? That's for sure. And the question over here is what kind of nation is being described over here? It's a nation that has a connection to the eagle, and it's a nation which is far away, a nation where we won't understand the language, which I think over here, language is not necessarily just the words that you pull out of your mouth. Language is also culture, right? A nation which doesn't respect its elders. So I want to tell you something. I'm not suggesting. Don't misunderstand me, which is normally a pretty good schooler for people to misunderstand, right? Don't misunderstand what I'm about to say. But America the Jews lived in Europe, right? The Jews lived most of the Jews lived in Europe, actually. Lived in the Middle East. America had a culture which was different from everywhere else in the world. First of all, some of this has got to do with the fact that America is the first country in the world that was established on the ideas of democracy. There was nothing like that until America came along. There was nothing like that. American culture is different. Old age homes began in America. You know what old age homes are for? They're for getting rid of your parents. To get rid of the older generation. Put them away somewhere where someone else will take care of them. and finished. I don't have to worry about it. It's interesting. In Asia, they don't have old age homes in Asia because it was considered to be a sign of great respect when parents became, when they required help, they would move in with their children.
Very true.
Okay.
Chinese especially.
I'm not, don't misunderstand me, I'm not judging anybody or anything. I'm just pointing out facts, that's all. The idea of moving parents into a place where they'll get taken care of and I don't have to worry about them. I can come by once a week and I can, say hello or send the kids or whatever it is. It's an American concept. America being a young country, it's only been around for 200 and something years, right? America being a young country does not place very much emphasis on its history. America's always pointing forwards. America is a country that the future is what is defining what America is. And that's something which here, that's a culture that we as Jews, that's a culture that we don't understand. The future, of course, is very, very important. Of course it is. But we can only understand the future by understanding the past. We can only understand the future by being familiar with the past. One of the reasons, kibbud av v'em, why are we commanded to honor our parents?
Honoring your parents, you're also honoring God.
Why you're honoring God? But good, okay. So, but why? What's the idea? The depth of the idea is that your parents are a link in the chain that take you back to Sinai. Which means you're honoring your parents because they're a part of the past, and that past is where you get your identity from. We as Jews, our identity comes from where? It comes from Har Sinai. It means being taken into captivity, into a place where there's no common language. There's nothing. It's impossible to understand the culture at all. All the things that you're going to rely upon are going to be taken away. And tell you what my father used to say about this. A lot of this has got to do with agriculture, right? You read it through. Your crops will be taken away, your animals will be taken away, your livestock, right? So my father said like this: we're not a very agricultural society anymore. So what has taken the place of agriculture is the stock market. Right? International stock markets are the measuring rod of how healthy an economy is.
Commodities and
everything,
farming part.
Yeah, which nobody pays any attention to. Which means, again, I can still remember the olden days. I hate to sound ancient, I really do, right? But I can remember you used to go to the greengrocer, the guy that sells fruits and vegetables, and the stuff used to come caked in mud. You washed it off when you took it home because it was fresh and it just come out of the ground and it just arrived, right? Today, what do? We go to the supermarket and you get your lettuce already cut up in a plastic box, right? And you've got no idea where the lettuce came from. People will be absolutely flabbergasted to hear that apples grow on trees. No, they don't. They grow in little corrugated, cardboard corrugated packages, and that's where they grow, isn't it? Nobody knows anything. Nobody's familiar with any of this stuff nowadays. And the stock market has become the measuring rod of how comfortable, how successful a country is. My father used to say, everybody looks at the stock market. It's a little bit like idol worship, And when things are going well, nobody ever pays attention to the fact that things can turn around just like that. It's unbelievable. You see markets losing, huge amounts of their value in the space of half an hour. And sell-offs and crashes, and all of a sudden things start going wrong. HaKadosh Baruch Hu's in charge. That's all we need to know, right? HaKadosh Baruch Hu's the one who's deciding the market's going to go up, it's going to go down, right? Again, verse number 58. Why is this happening? Im loy tishmola, so he says, kol divrei Torah, so saksuvim b'sefer hazeh. But if you're not going to keep what's in this book, lira es Hashem, anichbad v'anoira hazeh, es Hashem elokecha. We have to live our lives which reflects our connection to God. And if we don't, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to say, okay, I'm just going to remind you, right? You understand? Rabbi say, you hear what's going on? There are two ways. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is saying like this, you people have to be connected to me. There are two ways of doing this. You can either do it voluntarily, you can do it non-voluntarily. I don't mind, whatever you choose, it's your decision. Just you need to know that if you want me to remind you that we belong to each other, then it's going to be painful, that's all. V'yiflo Hashem es makoischo v'es makois zarecha makois gedolos ve'emunois v'chalayim ra'im ve'emonomim ve'ne'emonim. It's going to be terrible. It's going to be everything is going to be absolutely terrible. Asher lo yikosu b'sefer Torah hazos ya'alem Hashem alecha ad yishamdoch. And everyone will be rejoicing over the downfall of the Jews. Sounds familiar, no? Isn't that what we're living in right now? Everyone rejoices in the downfall of the Jews. And we don't get it. We just don't chap it, right? You know why? Because we're not doing what God wants us to do. If we did what God wants us to do, there wouldn't be any United Nations war crimes. There wouldn't be anything for us to be concerned about. There wouldn't be any missiles coming in from all over the place. Because we would be doing what we need to do. HaKadosh Baruch Hu will be taking care of us in the way that needs to be taken care of. There wouldn't be any enemies. No one would be there trying to get the better of us. But if we don't do that, that's exactly what happens. They line up in order to try to trip us up and to laugh at us and to come up with the most ridiculous, asinine ideas that we have to answer to. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, you were once the stars in the sky. You once brought light down into the world. But it's all been taken away because you don't listen to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Verse number 63. Vayak asher sas Hashem aleichem leitiv eschem la'bois eschem ken yasis Hashem aleichem la'avid eschem u'la'ashmid eschem. In the same way that HaKadosh Baruch Hu had the most incredible pleasure to be able to raise you up and to give you everything you need. So if needs be, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will have the same pleasure to destroy you when you're not doing what you're supposed to do.
In that sense, he's like a parent, isn't he?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, there's a famous vort from the Kotzker Rebbe. The Kotzker Rebbe says that the month of Av, which is the month of the 9th of Av, is the destruction of the two temples, the darkest moments in Jewish history. And says the Kotzker Rebbe, it's interesting, the month of Av, the word Av means father. And what do we call it? We call the month Menachem Av. That HaKadosh Baruch Hu comforts us, right? Which means that we have to know that all of this is happening. Why is it happening? Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu loves us. If He didn't love us, He'd leave us be. Let us assimilate into oblivion. Here, the last verse on the page. Vayechayecha tluyim lecha mineged. Ufachadet halayla v'yoymam v'lo yitamin b'chayecha. You'll be scared in the night. You'll be scared in the day. You won't believe in yourself. Listen to verse number 67. It's terrifying. Toimar mi yitain erev. In the morning, the day will be so terrible. You'll say to yourself, "Wow, I wish it was nighttime already." Yeah. Over erev toimar mi yitain boiker. And at the nighttime, you say, "Gosh, this is so awful. I wish it was daytime already." You hear? Nothing's right. Nothing's good. Nothing can be good. Mipachad levovcha shetivchad umimarei necha shetireh. It says that the whole of the Toichach finishes up on verse number 69. Eile divrei abris asher tziva Hashem es Moshe lichoises b'nei Yisrael be'eretz Moab. These are the words of the bris. What is a bris? A covenant, a pact. Milvad abris asher koas itam b'chorev. You hear what HaKadosh Baruch Hu is saying? Rabbi said this is part of the Torah. This is a pact, it's a promise from HaKadosh Baruch Hu that if we don't do what we're supposed to do, then this is what's going to be. So here, let's finish up. We'll finish up the Parsha with a little bit more upbeat. Vayikra Moshe al kol Yisrael v'yomer aleim atem re'isem es kol asher asa Hashem le'inechem be'eretz Mitzrayim lefaroi l'chol avadav v'l'chol atzoi. Right, we've all experienced coming out of Egypt what God did to Paro and the plagues. Hamasois hagdolos asher roi necho ha'oisos v'amoisim hagdolim ahem. All the signs and the wonders and everything that God did, we all saw it. So what does it say? He says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, He didn't let you understand clearly, properly until this day now, just before you go into the land of Israel. Now you'll understand why it is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu did everything that He did. Your clothing never wore out. Your shoes never wore out. It says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it's the most incredible thing. It says that the Jewish people, as they walked along, they had an automatic laundromat service. It says that the clouds of glory would rub against their clothing, and their clothing would become clean. As they were wearing it, their clothing would become clean, and it would become fresh, and it would smell of the clouds of glory. They didn't have, their clothes grew together with them. They didn't have to change their clothing. They didn't have to change their shoes. Lechem lo yachaltem v'yayin v'sheicha lo shesisem leman teidu ki ani Hashem Elokeichem. They did not live a natural life in the desert. They didn't eat bread. They ate the man. They didn't drink wine. They drank the water that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave them. Right? Everything was it's almost like impossible to miss, right? And this mighty Og and this mighty Sichon, these incredible giants that came out to fight against us, they were defeated. And the land was given over to Reuven and to Gad and to the half of the tribe of Manasseh. Says Moshe Rabbeinu to the Jewish people. Ushmatem es divrei abris hazois v'asisim oisom. You have to keep the Torah. Leman taskilu es kol asher ta'asun. In order that we should be able to succeed at what we need to do. Yeah.
The king of Heshbon.
Yeah.
Was that the land that Reuben and Manasseh?
Yeah. Reuven, Gad, and Chetzi Shevet Manasseh. That's the land that was given to them.
Why is it brought up here?
Because it's saying like this, that he's saying...
there's other things that happen.
For sure, but he's saying like this. Right now, he's trying to get them to understand that going into the land of Israel requires a constant understanding that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is with you, right? So he's saying here, HaKadosh Baruch Hu took you out of Egypt for what? To go to the land of Egypt, to go to the land of Israel, right? HaKadosh Baruch Hu allowed us to defeat Sichon and Og, these two incredibly mighty kings, in order for what? In order for Reuven and Gad and the half of the tribe of Manasseh to sit on that land, which means success comes only, that's what the last verse is saying, that the success comes only from what? Only from doing the Ratzon Hashem, only from doing what God wants us to do. Right? That's a beautiful way to end the Parsha, no?